big concrete, man, taking over, man. Like I'm tired of big concrete. They're making everything boring and taking away creativity.
Under the docks, yeah, under the docks. Buried deep, but we're breaking the locks. Footage got clipped, they erased all the shots. Stay connected dots. Under the docks, under the docks, yeah, under the docks. Yeah, under the docks.
And we're back. Under the Docks, Mainstream Mondays, where we go find the hottest viral, or now we're kind of going through the Rotten Tomato list and trying to go through and see like, what is this? Why is it popular and why are people paying attention to it?
I'm skeptical because usually Rotten Tomatoes gives the worst ratings for the movies that I like the best. So let's see how this works out, though. So this version of Mainstream Mondays, for the next few episodes at least, is we're just going to be picking from the 100% fresh and all of the top critic rated on Rotten Tomatoes for documentaries of 2025. The first one up is called Architecton. It's a documentary that was written and directed by a guy named Victor Kosakovsky, and I'm damn sure I got that right. And this is how it's described: a poetic meditation on architecture and how design and construction of buildings from the ancient past reveal, I guess, modern day destruction, and it offers a hope for survival and a way forward. And then it mentions ancient Italian architects. It mentions Baalbek and Lebanon, like ancient history stuff. And then it talks about going through all these ancient ruins. And it was co-produced in collaboration with A24 Films. So all of that sounded exactly like it would be right up my alley. So I'm excited to get into it.
You're a little artsy fartsy with the A24, you know, that's what they do, but it's good. Like they have a lot of good stuff too. But I will say, finally, I think we're going to be exposing the least likely that people don't know about: big concrete.
Well, in the course of this movie, it's pretty simple. There's not a lot of dialogue. In fact, I'd say 80 to 90% of this movie is just footage with music behind it. And I don't know if you've ever seen Baraka or Samsara or some of these other kind of movies. It was starting to remind me of that. And a lot of the footage is just take it for what you will. There's not a lot of explanation of what exactly that you're seeing or why you're seeing it or why it's cutting from one thing to the next. So it kind of leaves the entire narrative up to you as the viewer. And I guess I'm surprised that this one was ranked so high, just because it's a little bit out there. It's a little bit avant-garde for what you would usually see as like a popular release.
Yeah, and that you would think that people would be maybe bored. But you know what? I had a thought when I was watching it, because like I thought, like, you know, people's attention span, plus they're like, wait, I have to do the work. I have to do the thinking. Like, you're not going to tell me what I'm supposed to think. You kind of, everything's left open for interpretation. But I did think that people were getting, this got popularized because some of the scenes of breaking the rocks down. I'm like, you know how people watch those videos and they're like, oh, that's so satisfying. They're like, that's what I think that it caught. That's something that stood in my brain. Like maybe people were like, oh, this is so satisfying. And they watch it on replay of the rocks tumbling down.
Okay. So it's like a good movie to put on to soothe yourself and go to sleep a little bit. So here's plot in the course of this, because it's not necessarily trying to tell a specific story until the very end. But the shots, it opens up on destroyed buildings that I assume are in Ukraine. Then it's got a guy walking around looking at big rocks and foundations and putting his hands up on rocks and leaning against them. And you'll see this kind of happening, recurring throughout the documentary. Then you got rocks falling scene, then the infrared footage scenes where someone got like a fancy infrared mod on their camera, and now they're filming like all these outdoor scenes where the leaves and the floor are like white on the background. It looks kind of cool. They keep going back to that. Then we see them cutting down a tree. Then we see a quarry exploding, which I guess if I'm watching this like it were a movie, that's the climax of the movie. Is your
Yeah.
the camera's panning over this quarry, and then all like completely out of nowhere, it just explodes. It kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh, that was the conflict resolution of this movie. And then it shows 3D printed concrete buildings where it's got this big like nozzle that's just printing out the walls and everything. And then we go and see the temple ruins of Baalbek in Lebanon. And this is one of the places that I've heard from like, what is it, Graham Hancock, and like a whole bunch of the other ancient history conspiracy angles where these older civilizations had these huge buildings and we're still trying to figure out not just why, but how they built them. And then we get a footage of this huge, huge stone. Like it's the size of a building, basically, that's being propped up behind one of the guys working on the documentary. And it just keeps zooming all the way out. And then it goes back into this guy's backyard where throughout the movie, he's hired these contractors to just install a bunch of stones and make like a little circular mound. And then at the very end, we basically get an interview. And this is where like I'll save all this for the hidden treasures, because I guess they are kind of hidden. Like whenever someone actually says something and tries to make a point, it's hidden in this movie. So I'll save those. But that's kind of the whole plot in the course. And it ultimately, they do let you know that the question that this movie is trying to explore is, if we were able to build these buildings and structures that lasted for thousands of years and they look so impressive that we're still going and taking pictures of them today, then how come right now, with knowing that that's what we're capable of, why are we making skyscrapers that are boring and that only last for maybe 40 or 50 years before they're outdated and have to get taken back down and then put back up? So that, I think that's pretty much the entire documentary.
That you did a great job. And then they just really ask the questions at the end. Like you can kind of see some of where it's going as they're flashing. Like, look at this natural architecture. Look at this architecture from back in the 1800s, not 1800s, even further. What AD, like
I
600
think
AD.
the Baalbek was 60 AD, I think, were the
60
oldest
AD.
ruins.
So you're going back through history, seeing the different types of architecture, and you can kind of see where they're going, because then they show modern architecture, and all the modern architecture is like, obviously some of it was bombed, like, you know what I mean? Like you said, it looks like Ukraine, like, and then them destroying the buildings and like how it's just disgusting, right? They, at the end, they kind of just emphasize of how like, this is gross, man. Like, well, how do we all get like what you did, this little circular garden that we need in every yard? And I think they're trying to explore life in general. Like, what are we doing? I think you can open, like, for me, I had different thoughts. I was kind of getting more into the feel of like, that is true. Like, the conspiratorial world, they're just trying to box us in, man. The man just wants me to go to work and pay taxes. Like, I guess it generated that thought, but on an architectural level where you're seeing, they're like, dang, man, the creativity is going away. It's not like, which a lot of people have talked about, but seeing it was pretty impressive because the cinematography is great in this. Like, it really is. They have great views. I'll say some of it because for Overboard and Hidden Treasures, but they're telling the story. But I was feeling the story and when they were leading up to that.
I also think that you get a lot of footage in this movie that you wouldn't see otherwise. Like, this is something beyond just tourist footage or something you would find online already. So there's something special about that. I'll save some of that for Hidden Treasures, but I do think that it's easy to summarize, but it goes by quick just because I don't want to sit here and describe to you. And then this other rock fell. Oh no, and then there was this other bigger rock that fell on the littler rock. And then like those turn into even smaller rocks. You had to be there, right? I don't want to get into that.
Like I said, it's satisfying to people. They're just like, just watch that scene over and over. Like, cause that scene was pretty long, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was like, dang, like rocks are still falling, man. Like, and then, like you said, there was like little
rocks keep falling, bro.
It just kept falling.
All right, Hidden Treasures and Overboard moments. I'll kick it off at least with the Hidden Treasures. For me, there was this one specific question that I kind of paraphrased earlier. And this is basically what he asked. Why, when people knew how to make buildings that last thousands of years, but today we're making buildings that last 40 years? And then he says, why ugly, boring buildings if we can build beautiful ones? It's a deep question. And then they start talking about skyscrapers that only last for 50 years, maybe. And he keeps coming back to this point that it's not symbolic and it has no meaning. And then he finally says, I hate concrete. It doesn't belong to nature. And then the movie sort of ends. So you definitely understand by the end of the movie exactly what the whole point of it was. And I think that being at least specific enough to say, like, these are the questions that drove the rest of the documentary, being tucked in away at the end counts as like the hidden treasure. And it's an interesting question.
It is an interesting question, and I thought that whole scene was built up. Like that's what they were getting to. Like they were getting your mindset. They were visually stimulating you and kind of letting you narrate it, but they knew what they were doing because they were putting specific shots and showing you like how great architecture was compared to how it is now. And it is boring, right? Like I think of a lot of people have said that, like just in doorbells and knockers and doorways and just little simple things. And then that is the hidden treasure for me too, is the whole concrete message, right? They don't say it, but when they're showing you the smart or AI, the building of the 3D printer, there we go, of the concrete, that right there tells you like, oh, this is kind of what they're going after. And then they really emphasize it at the end while the guy's hugging the tree. That cracks me up the whole time. I'm not gonna lie. He's interviewing him and he's just hugging this tree. Like he's like, hey man, like, yeah, concrete sucks. I love nature. And I'm like, what a tree hugging hippie. You know what I mean? Like it really gave me that emphasis. But I was, while he was talking, thinking that they were gonna get into this like climate change. Like I was waiting for it. But I thought it was interesting. That's why it is a hidden treasure for me too, is that no, they stuck with concrete and the boring aspect of taking out creativity. So to me, it kind of changed my mind on the movie because you're watching, I'm like, I'm waiting for it, man. You're not gonna get me, man. You ain't gonna get me with this propaganda. I thought this was different. And I will say some of the overboard moments was like when it was 7 minutes or 8 minutes of like rocks falling. I'm like, I get it, bro. Like, just you could have sped some of that up. That's all I'm saying. But like that that part to me is like you're just milking it. But I get what they were doing and why they were doing it. I'm telling you, I really think that they thought like, you know what? There's so many people on TikTok, TikTok that watches these type of videos of like slime and like someone like cutting something and they're like, it's just so satisfying, bro. And I never got it. And then I'm watching this and I'm like, is this what they're like?
Well, but TikTok videos are definitely not 8 minutes of it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. But you can make like 27 videos out of that one, right? Or 50 videos where you just chop it up 30 to 60 seconds. And then the other hidden treasure for me was just actually seeing the raw footage. I thought I like good cinematography, some of the drone shots, even if they were longer than what I would like, but it's stuff I would never see, right? I'm not gonna get to go see that, and you get to see this whole different angle. And I really like the artsy of it, right? Like they put time and effort into this. The music, the bed of music's under stuff, the score, everything's pretty good, top notch for me on that part. That's a hidden gem to me because I like that, appreciate that part aspect of it.
All right, I got a small list of the overboard for me. The biggest one, I guess, is more of a personal problem than the documentary's problem, but I feel like I just kept getting distracted after like 4 minutes of rocks falling. All of a sudden, I'm checking my phone and I just realized, like I wasn't paying attention. Let me see if I missed anything. No, okay, it was just more rocks falling. And at one point, don't hate me if you didn't do this too, but I was just watching it at 4x and I would have watched it at 5x or 6x, except the audio was cutting out and I wanted to at least still hear the music, even if the music was also sped up 4x. And I still feel like I didn't really miss a whole lot. Like I saw the rocks falling and I saw the 3D getting printed and like I saw all the things happening. It just didn't last as long. Like my 8 minute or like your 8 minute rocks falling was 2 minutes for me, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like I didn't miss a whole lot by doing that, and maybe that's an overboard moment where even at 4x, I was like, damn, those rocks are still falling. I was like, damn, I wonder how long Sean's watching this one for. I felt bad I feel like I was cheating. And then man, this one, I think that I went in and I was giving it this unfair comparison to Samsara and to Baraka and to Kronos. I don't know if you've seen any of those
I
before.
have.
Any three. Okay, so that's exactly what I had in mind when I went in to watch this, and it just didn't really hold a candle up to any of those three. So I think I might have been spoiled, and I think I might have overhyped what I was getting. Again, the 100% Rotten Tomatoes rating. That's like, this is the best documentary that's come out all year. Here's all the experts agree. It won at all these different film festivals. Like all this explanation. I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a fair shot. And maybe I didn't give it a fair shot. Maybe I just went in expecting too much because of that. And I want to say maybe this is part of the hidden treasure for me, but it was just an instant reminder. The very first documentary out of the gate that we were like, let's just go for the highest rated ones. And it reminded me that I don't agree with the ratings, and that usually the ones that are the highest rated, I don't really care for them that much. And the ones that I'm like, oh man, this was the best documentary, the best movie I've ever seen. Yeah, let's see what Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, and they gave it like a 40 or like a 30, right? So this was a reminder that this is why I don't go to the mall, right? Like you go to the mall once a year to remind yourself why you don't go to the mall. So it felt a little bit like that. The biggest overboard moment for me, and I don't even know if this was intentional. It was so ironic, but it felt unintentional. It was right around that scene where the dude's hugging the tree and he's like, I hate concrete and I love nature. And he has this other statement and he says, if we want to live in such a huge number on this planet, then we have to question ourselves, what we built, is it nourishing the planet or is it destroying the planet? And as he's saying this, these two little battery powered plastic robot like lawn cutters are mowing around this thing that he had these guys come out and build for him. And it felt, I don't know if I'm being hypercritical, but it felt very hypocritical that he's sitting here complaining about no one ever wants to make anything beautiful. It's all just functional. And like, we need to return to nature. And then like the robot goes by, like his two robots zip by. And my first thought was like, bro, how come you're not out here with like the metal lawn cutter that has like no gas or anything, or having the contractors come out and do that little, but instead you spent money on plastic and rubber and microchips and things that are definitely not of nature. So if we're comparing like a dirt hut to a basically a concrete building, which of those is not of nature? Okay, the concrete building. Let's compare a concrete building to a robot that's cutting your lawn. Which of those is not from nature? Like, you know what I mean? It just felt like this weird escalation. And then when he hugged the tree, it kind of solidified it for me. So, and actually, let me throw in one last one, man, because maybe if you didn't catch the propaganda, it worked on you. And this is part of my reasoning of, oh, that's why it got the 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, is because in the very opening scene of this movie, when it's showing these ruins from a Ukrainian apartment building, it zooms out and there's a huge QR code in the center of the frame that says "Un-Russia from the UN." And it has like a website that you go to that's like, it leads, I went actually scanned the QR code and went to the site, and it goes to a change.org petition with, I don't know, short of 400,000 people that have like just clicked a little button to remove Russia from the UN. And I just felt like there's the propaganda. There's the reason that it got the 100% Rotten Tomatoes rating, because they used it as a literal billboard to promote this like political agenda. So I'm sitting here questioning, did anyone even see this, or did just the right people get the right incentive to bump the rating up on this thing, just so that whoever tunes in within the first 30 seconds, like they focus on it within the first minute, and then later on in the movie, you're watching rocks fall for 8 minutes, and you're like, bro, what's going on with the rocks again?
And they don't really explain like what that has to do with like architecture. Like, dude, it got bombed, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like the building's bombed. It's not like it's obviously bombed of how it fell. I'm not saying concrete's great or anything, but it did kind of throw you into a loop of like, you're giving me like this footage that doesn't necessarily match the other footage, right? You're not going through like all these like huge skyscrapers and the architecture behind that. You're like, look at these blown up buildings. Like, I didn't see that I saw the QR code, but I I didn't catch that. Like it slipped underneath me because I was like, what is like I'm
The propaganda worked on you.
it got me.
And honestly, if you bombed Baalbek, I'm pretty sure those ruins would be gone too. It's not like
It's bomb free.
craftsmanship means that it lasts longer necessarily, right? You go first, sink or swim.
I'm gonna have to give this a sink.
Oh
I
no, but it was rated so highly.
no, I agree with you that ratings suck, man. Like they don't tell you anything. Just like I've seen critics before tell me a movie sucks, and then like I watch it, I'm like, I liked it. Again, the cinematography is great. I like some of the score, the beds of music, but it's just so long and stretched out to get to the point. You're like, dude, you could have literally told me that in a 10-minute, 12-minute YouTube video, just kind of showing some of the scenes and wrapped it up and cut a lot out. I like the aspect of actually thinking and trying to like watch all this, and because the whole time I'm watching these scenes, I'm trying to like develop thoughts of like, what is this about? Like, what are they trying to tell me? Or what do I think of this? What is this telling me? Right? Like it pitches me in my own way of like it is. I see it through a conspiratorial lens where I'm like, yeah, man, like big concrete, man, taking over, man. Like I'm tired of big concrete. They're making everything boring, taking away creativity. And I like the aspect of where they're, or I took it as they're taking away creativity. I don't know if they intended for me to get that message, but overall, it's just not for me. It's not something I would suggest anybody to watch. And I think if I did, they'd be like, don't ever tell me something to watch.
Yeah, thing for me, just because it would ruin my credibility entirely. If I gave this a swim and someone went and watched it, they would always be questioning what the hell is this guy talking about. So a sink for all the reasons that you mentioned, sink because it's just not edited in a way that's compelling. And now I guess we're gonna have to watch some of those other films I mentioned before, Baraka, Samsara. Like they're not exactly the kind of movie that you can watch and then give a great review of just because you're sitting there describing visuals and there's no dialogue whatsoever. But now I feel like we have to at least do one of them just so you can see how this is done right, in my opinion. Even if I'm going to be overhyping that and you're going to go in like, oh, what is this? Just a bunch of silent. No, but I think that those ones are stronger. And the other biggest reason for a sink here is because they ask these questions and he's like, that's such a deep question. I was just sitting here like, it's not that deep of a question, bro. Why don't we build buildings that last for thousands of years with all these ornate additions when literally within 5 minutes later he's talking about how are we going to survive in such huge numbers on this planet? Well, part of that is by getting up housing way faster than taking like an entire like 2 or 3 generations of a royal family funding a castle to be built that only 12 people live in, right? Like that, the fact that all these temples exist, great, but they also didn't have child labor laws. They didn't have the workday ends at 6 o'clock. They didn't have OT. They didn't have a lot of that, right? So they could just straight force you to build these incredibly intricate buildings and didn't have to worry about lawsuits or wages or any of that. So there's part of the most obvious reason. And the other part is like, if you need an apartment building to go up right now, or if you're building a skyscraper for a business and not for a religion, then yeah, the business is going to be like, we've got X allocated for the construction of this building based on all, like, I don't know. I don't feel like I should have to explain any of this. This is the most common, obvious knowledge. And I guess that this comes up too whenever like the Tartarian or ancient like old world history, like how come we don't build things that look like anything anymore? I don't know, bro, because no one's willing to fund it. No one's willing to wait an extra 8 years for it to be created with all these ornate details, especially when some black Antifa is just going to come by and throw poop on it at some point in the future anyway. Just make your entire building just a big glass sheet. So when they come and spray paint it and they come and throw feces on it, and they come and protest whatever, you just get out there with the window wipers one day, done, and it's gone, versus like getting all that crap out of the little gargoyle mouths and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's not a deep question. It's really easy to answer. If they had brought up the CIA and deciding to bring like brutalism versus just straight up cheap labor. But if you talked about how come we're doing brutalist architecture instead of these other forms, let's look at 1950s. They would have had me a little bit more. but just some old dude hugging a tree with robots circling around him talking about I love nature, screw concrete, let's save the world. None of it made sense to me. It felt like a really rich old tourist film propaganda piece. The end.
It reminded me of like old heads in music where they're like, "Oh, you're using sampling. Oh, now you're using AI." Back in my day, we used to just put rocks in a circle and have like a little circular garden. Like, you know what I mean? It was like some old head architecture architects that are like, "Well, architecture nowadays, it just doesn't stand the test of time like these old structures." And like you said, I've argued with this to people too. They're like, "Well, how did Michelangelo paint this?" Or how, bro, he didn't have a time frame, and you're not considering that like there's no TV, there's no distraction, there's no phone. All he did was like, oh, the 16th chapel, I'm just painting this forever, and it's gonna take years with no other distractions, just being not having to go to work. And then some of these huge structures, like you pointed out, these castles and that were taking forever. How many lives were lost too? They're like, 12,297 people died building this. Like, you know what I mean? That's why, bro. That's why it's a little bit better to have like a 3D printer to just build some housing to help people have houses. I'm with you. They thought they were getting real intellectual and philosophical, but really you're just like some old people like, this is dumb, man. These kids nowadays, back in the 60 AD, man, that's when they really knew how to build stuff. Like, come on, man, you get to the times, and you are with it. Like you said, like, I really love how you emphasize the robot lawnmowers. They're like, yeah, man, got to get back to nature. And they're like, AI program doing it all by themselves.
So yeah, I guess sync. I wouldn't really recommend this. If you really want to get to the only deep part of it, you can literally skip to the last 15 minutes and listen to them talking about this back and forth. But again, it's boomer logic, 100% all the way. Why don't we make them more ornate? Why don't we spend more time making them beautiful? Also, we need many more fast. We need to house people. We need to save the planet. Like, you're gonna sit around here and put like floral designs while the family's waiting to get into the home, right? Like Habitat for Humanity, they're not putting like cool little filigrees all over. They're just putting the drywall on so that someone can move in ASAP. And that's where we're at, man. It's not like everyone gets to have their own temple.
But where you can get a temple is you could probably find it in a comic book at paranoidamerican.com. At least one of them has to have some sort of temple, I'm sure.
What a segue.
And go to killthemockingbirds.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the channel, and tell people that if it sinks, it stinks. Under the Docks. Thanks for coming back to another episode. Peace.
Under the docks, yeah, under the docks. Buried deep, but we're breaking the locks. Footage got clipped, they erased all the shots. We stay connected dots. Under the docks, under the docks, yeah, under the docks. Yeah, under the docks.
Ready for a cosmic conspiracy about Stanley Kubrick, moon landings, and the CIA? Go visit nasacomic.com.
NASAcomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm NASAcomic.com, go visit NASAcomic.com. Go visit NASAcomic.com. Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com. Oh, NASAcomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm NASAcomic.com, go visit NASAcomic.com. Go visit NASAcomic.com. Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com.
Never a Straight Answer is a 40-page comic about Stanley Kubrick directing the Apollo space missions.
Yeah, go visit NASAcomic.com.
This is the perfect read for comic, Kubrick, or conspiracy fans of all ages. For more details, visit nasacomic.com.
Paranoid. Yo. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hey, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out, nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Man, it's not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.